Welcome to the Influential Christian Entrepreneur Podcast, where we uncover the inspiring stories and strategies of successful Christian entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of interviewing Brian, how do I pronounce your last name?
Woodlief.
Woodlief. Okay, I'm going to start that again because I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh, this is like a European name, which could probably sound different. Okay, Woodlief. All right, I'll start that again. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Influential Christian Entrepreneur Podcast, where we uncover the inspiring stories and strategies of successful Christian entrepreneurs. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of interviewing Brian Woodlief, who is a husband and a father of 3, a digital marketing professional as well. He graduated from East Carolina University with a BFA in design and illustration. He's consistently worked in his chosen field for 15 plus years, earning awards and recognition in various roles as a designer, illustrator, web developer, and email automation specialist. Brian has worked for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, as well as a number of design agencies and in-house marketing teams during his career. He started in his own digital marketing firm in 2020 and has been successfully serving clients of all sizes, helping them craft their visual brand and developing their marketing message to grow their business. Most recently, he became a StoryBrand certified guide to continually add to his knowledge in the field and aid his ability to serve his clients. Thanks for being here, Brian. How are you?
I'm great, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for, taking the time to sit with me here today. As you know, I am on a quest, to discover what is that everybody does. I consider myself, a new Christian, and I always wondered, why don't I see other Christians out there? Like, why aren't they front and center? And so I was inspired to start this podcast somehow. It didn't come from me. It was just an inspiration, the title, everything, and what I was supposed to be asking as well. So I wanted to first start and ask you, were you always a Christian or did you become a Christian? Can you tell me about that?
I would have said from a very, very early age that I was a Christian, but that's somewhat indicative of being in the South, where I think cultural Christianity is kind of a general thing, especially when I was young. When I was born, it definitely was much more so, maybe even than currently. But it was quickly evident in college, as I was starting to rub up against some other Christians, that maybe there was something missing in my life, and I really kind of through the ministry of Campus Crusade, which was on the college campus that I went to, meeting some of those and being discipled by a few people involved in that ministry, it became evident that I never really had that beginning point where I actively, sought the Lord, chose to, put Him on the throne of my life, and begin that relationship, which is really key. So I would say that's really where my faith journey really started.
So your faith journey truly started in college when you made the conscious decision of following Christ, whereas myself included, I was baptized in the Catholic Church. I went to church with my grandmother on Sundays, and then I kind of veered away in my teens. But I don't consider that I actually became a Christian until I made that conscious decision and started reading the Bible and doing the best that I could. So was that kind of how it was for you when you were in college, then you made the decision and started moving in that direction?
Yeah, I felt that as the true beginning, but the seeds came well before that. I definitely recall being an artist, just being fascinated with God's creation, and just looking around, even as a very, very young person, realizing, okay, this doesn't just happen. And I think that that materialized in lots of different ways as I grew up, and then had some really good influences in my life. me and my sister would often go to my grandmother's house and stay for a week during the summers, when we would grow up. And my grandmother on my mother's side would always have a devotional before we went to bed, and she would read directly from the scriptures. Now, I had really no idea what she was talking about at the time. I certainly had no context for, the Bible at that point in my life, but it planted the seeds of, okay, this is important. God has a word out there, and it's not just for nothing. It's for us to know, and and we can know Him through that word. And so that kind of was seeds planted in my mind that I think came to fruition there in college, and has continued, from that point on.
And so when you were in college, was it completely different environment than how college is today? Because I feel like today, being a Christian in college could be rather unpopular. Was it unpopular back when you were in college as well? Because I was not, I can't remember when I was in college if I didn't call myself a Christian, so I don't know. But having grown up in Puerto Rico, where I guess is a predominantly Christian, um, you know, we call it a country, even though it's part of the United States, that it wasn't really something that we thought about. But was it like, since you're kind of like my same generation, I figure, was it, were you like feeling a little bit out of place in college, or was it just easy smoothing while you were, I mean, easy sailing while you were in college?
Well, yeah, I guess that maybe the best way to answer that is kind of twofold. Like, I went to what was always considered a notorious kind of party school, as far as like of the schools within. It was a state school that I went to in North Carolina. Um, so yeah, I think Christianity was definitely not, uh, the school was not known for it by any means. Um, but I had a good upbringing, and there was a lot of trappings of Christianity that I felt like was kind of evident in my life. I really was not uh, a partier per se, and I really wasn't even looking forward to that aspect of the school because I knew it was kind of known for that. I really just was not interested in being a part of that lifestyle, and that quickly became the case. During the early part of my first year, I was definitely looking for something other than that scene to be a part of, and I was really glad that God kind of met me in that, putting me together with what would eventually be a Christian roommate who was already looking to get involved in some of the parachurch organizations on campus, which I didn't even know that was such a thing. But I kind of followed along, and was so glad that I did because I met some really amazing people, even people within the art community, which is my area of major and study. There was a real strong contingency of believers who were artists and graphic designers, like I was studying. And so that became just a fantastic experience for me all the way around. Like I didn't have to separate my faith from what it is that my chosen vocation,
Hmm.
and that's just kind of continued to compound, even throughout my career and now as a solopreneur.
So you found your community, you found your support system early, and you never had that dramatic where I fell completely, oops, out of my faith, and then I came back, something shocking happened, and then I came back. So yours was kind of like, you know, no, you didn't ruffle any feathers along the way. It was pretty smooth for you. Now, when it comes to in the world of business, one thing that I notice is that or one thing that I was always told was to never mix politics or faith in business because it's bad for business. And people will tell you like don't mix your beliefs into business because that will turn other people off. You will lose clients who may not think like you. Um, you will offend somebody. It's never good to push your beliefs on other people. And my question is, do you think, from your personal perspective, is it okay to mix your faith and business? You and I both are solopreneurs, so we're thinking about maybe the online space, but even if somebody has like a brick and mortar and they're the CEO of the company, do you think it's okay to mix your faith with business?
I think is it's how you live your life. It's not a compartmentalized thing as far as I'm concerned. So to me, it's like I can't separate that faith from who I am, and that feeds into my business. Now, as far as how forward facing that is, that's a case by case basis. Like I've been in the room with people that are my clients that are very open and receptive, and we've our conversations have migrated to things of faith and spirituality, and I've prayed with clients and people that I have networked and have through really amazing brothers and sisters in Christ out there in the work world, most of which I've never been in the same room with. It's all been virtual, but technology just connects us in so many new and exciting ways now, and I think that you can use that as a way to encourage your own faith, but then also the faith of others.
Right. So you do it in a subtle way, and it's not necessarily public facing. What I'm trying to get at is that everybody has their own style of how they communicate their faith based on their personality, based on their business, and that we don't all have to be front and center. It may be your style to have scripture on all your social media posts, but the way that you do it is you let the other person kind of lead the way if they want to hear more about that from you. Am I right?
Yeah, to me, it's like I try to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit because I really feel like the Holy Spirit's always living and active and guiding us in those conversations. Sometimes I felt like, there are opportunities within conversations with clients where I just kind of try to open that door. And, it's rare that I do that in any kind of like, very heavy-handed way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's, it's nice whenever I can be salt and light and encourage people in that way. And,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's coming at faith from, a different perspective and, with different backgrounds. So it's really just trying to be there and accessible and meeting people where they are in their faith journey, wherever that happens to be.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that because I feel like, and part of the reason why I was so like I did not want to come out publicly as being a Christian for 2 years. Um, because I felt like Christians, we got a bad name. Like somehow we develop a bad name. I was that person on the other side where as soon as you said something about like God or Jesus, I'm like, oops, this person's gonna try to recruit me or, I'm gonna try to take me to their church. And I don't know where I was. I think it was rooted in a bad experience that I had, um, where I joined this church and it felt very much very heavy-handed, very pushy, very churchy. Like you need to go out there and meet strangers and talk to them about the Bible and all that kind of stuff. And that really like turned me off. So do you feel like, you know, we have gotten a bad rap, Christians? And that's why we have to probably not be churchy and pushy when it comes to that. What do you think?
I think that maybe is somewhat peculiar to Americans because we have this tradition of being one nation under God. There's definitely that in our background, and we have an enemy very much in the spiritual realm, and who's pushing back actively against us, and has done a great job in undermining a lot of that tradition and
Mm-hmm.
convincing people that they should turn away from that. So I kind of couch that in that because there is a battlefield. We have to be active, realizing that we can't be passive because the enemy is not passive. He is actively recruiting. And so whether you think you're being pushy on, the side of, God, Jesus, what I would
Hmm.
say is the forces of good, um, then, but just realize that the enemy is very much active in recruiting on the opposite side of that same thing. And so I
And
feel
he
like
is pushy.
any,
He's all over the place.
it's very palpable today. Just within my own lifetime, I feel like I've seen an incredible darkening of the culture around me.
Yes.
I don't want to see that, you know, trajectory continue. I want
Hmm.
to be a force for light in a darkening world. But what's great is that I feel like the light shines brightest in the darkness. And so it really doesn't take a lot to, be that force on the opposite side of the conversation. So,
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
think we have plenty of reasons to feel emboldened to share our faith because honestly, this is what the world needs. They need to hear their for it, whether they realize it or not. So, yeah,
Right. Right. So I
is that a
feel
good
like,
answer?
yeah, that's a good answer because I feel like now that I'm on the other side of the fence, I feel like Christians, we may be a little bit too passive. I just wrote a post about that today. We have been too passive, and I feel like you say, the increasing darkness. I've seen mockery of God and Jesus Christ, um, like literal mockery. Memes and making fun of Jesus and saying things about Jesus that I mean, would have been even when I was in the secular world, I would have considered extremely offensive, right? And nobody says anything. People laugh, and Christians, we do nothing about it. I'm talking about specifically on like social media. So I feel like we are a little bit too passive. But at the same time, we probably should find a better approach than being forceful. However, we shouldn't become complacent and just have that spirit of fear that God told us not to have, and be afraid that if we speak out and come out as Christians and tell our stories and give our testimony, that we are going to not pay our bills, because that's where I was for a while. Like, I don't want to say anything because I'm not going to have a business. Like, people will hate me. And it's true, you will get a lot of backlash for that. But it's because of what you said, the increasing darkness, that I never used to see that before. I don't know, because you're also in the area of digital marketing, so I'm sure you're out there on social media a lot or whatever. And I don't know if you've noticed on social media, particularly, how it's increasingly dark, even in like music, for example, and movies. It's astonishing what's going on today, and I feel like Christians, um, we're just kind of taking a back seat, and I don't know if I'm seeing it the right way or not. You know?
Yeah, there's certainly a danger because the enemy wants us to show up. In fact, that's what we hear consistently from the other side. You know, cut off. Even though we have, you know, what we say is what people need. I mean, it is the source of true life. And so why would we not want to shout that from the rooftop? Especially when we see so many people making really just tragic decisions in regards to their life, um, purely because they've been deceived so badly by the culture around us, being told that good is bad and bad is good. And that's very scriptural. I mean, God has told us this, so He's prepared us, and so we need to be preparing ourselves. How can we stand up against that in inappropriate ways? I would say.
Right, right. And what really pushed me to start speaking out was, as I read the Bible more and started to pray more, you become convicted. You feel, you gain that courage to go out there and speak the truth. And sometimes it feels scary, but I had to come to the point where I felt that The only opinion I care about is that of Jesus Christ. So, what my fellow man and people out there on the internet and strangers, usually that I don't even know, and I used to care so much about everybody's opinion, and most of these people I don't even know, though I love them as well because I have to, I want to mirror Christ and love everyone. I really have to care more about Jesus Christ's opinion. And since I decided that I was going to follow him, I knew that it's going to come along with some sacrifice as well. So I think that if we all see it, if we all think about how can we impact other people through our business in our own way, in our own style, what can we do and allow the Holy Spirit to inspire us? For example, this podcast was an inspiration. Um, then then I think we can bring more people to God's kingdom for sure. Do you agree with that?
I, I so appreciate what you're doing, Francine. I so agree with what you said earlier. We're given a spirit, that pushes against fear. We have no reason to fear. We know what happens in the end. And that's, it's called the gospel for a reason, because that literally means good news. It's good news because, um, eternal separation from God is the worst thing that you could ever experience on the other side of this life.
Yes.
Um, but the promise that you could spend eternity with God, and what better news? Why would you not want to find some way in which to share that? And you're so right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an audience of one that I'm really trying to please, and that's God Himself. So I conduct myself, you know, with that in mind, moment by
Absolutely.
moment, Lord willing.
Lord willing, absolutely. You just have to get to that point. So, how would you are a digital marketer extraordinaire? I know that you're mostly in the illustration and the design, which I love. Like, I love design and illustration. Um, so, how can people contact you if they were wanting to talk to you about your services?
I would always encourage, if you're on social channels, especially LinkedIn, I'm very active there. Um, the name of my business is Square Knot Marketing. My website is Square Knot. That's KNOT. Like as in a rope
I'm
knot.
not. Okay.
Dot marketing. So it's not a .com. It's a Square Knot dot marketing.
Oh, dot
And
marketing. I didn't even know that existed. Dot marketing.
it's kind of fun, these new extensions,
Yeah.
because obviously, .com, they'll eventually run out, right?
Yeah.
We need alternatives. So some of them are kind of fun, and I actually try to encourage some of my clients even to consider getting some of the newer domain extensions. But that's a whole other
A
conversation.
whole other
I love
conversation.
helping people with their branding, especially on the visual side, and then help with web development as well, creating beautiful websites. So yeah, I would love to talk with anyone that has needs in those areas.
Who's your what are the I know you work with businesses of all sizes. Is there a specific type of business that is more of a fit for you?
I love anyone, especially personal brands that are looking to really brand themselves and their expertise online, or relaunch it if they're really trying to level up what they're doing. And that's for businesses as well. I love any kind of business that has a lot of creativity um, at the, at the core of it. Like I have some restaurant clients that I really enjoy doing work for because there's a lot of just fun kind of design work involved there, promoting food and all things,
Yeah.
um, within that genre or vertical. So, but at the end of the day, I really like forging close relationships with my clients. I like building trust with the decision makers for the marketing efforts, so that over time, uh, there's kind of a synergy there built.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today, Brian, for sharing your heart and sharing, what's on your mind. Um, I know that people resonate with different stories, right? And that's why I always try to have a variety of different points of view of the same subject, on this podcast. So I want to thank you for introducing me to so many wonderful Christian entrepreneurs as well. You filled up my podcast for like an entire month. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for listening to The Influential Christian Entrepreneur. We will be back next week with another episode. Thank you so much. Bye.